Hey, Rumble World Entertainment, and is Star Wars Rogue Squadron actually moving forward? Well, that's a new rumour that's doing the rounds. On top of that, they're saying Taika Waititi's project has been shelved indefinitely. Well, you don't say, because we've known that one since the day it was actually announced that that movie was never going to happen. The Patty Jenkins one, though. Now, they said it was happening, then of course she left over what we were told was creative differences, but they said it was still in active development. Well, guess what? It's still apparently in active development. Yeah. So this entire rumour goes on the basis of it's still in active development. We are going to have a look at this article, but it's just a case of, oh, you think it's still moving forward because they're telling you the same thing now that they told you 2 years ago. Okay. It's like, you do realise, this is one thing, you have to sit all these people down and go, you do realise that they still tell you the Rian Johnson trilogy is still in development. They tell you that Dan and Dave's movie, or should I say trilogy, is still in active development. Just because they say it's in development doesn't mean it's ever happening. And they just don't want the bad luck of, oh, we got rid of a woman and took her movie away. So they'll string this along. Do I think this movie's actually going to happen? No. I really don't. I don't even think the Rey movie's ever actually going to happen. But let's have a look at this anyway. So it says, it seems Patty Jenkins' Rogue Squadron movie may still take flight after all, while Taika Waititi's mysterious project has been grounded. See what they did there? It was assumed that Jenkins' feature, which we first heard about during a Disney Investors broadcast back in 2020, was well and truly dead in the water at this stage, but we're now hearing that the project will still move forward. According to Daniel Richman, Rogue Squadron is in active development at Lucasfilm. Well, thank you, Daniel, for telling us what we've known since this movie was announced, that this movie is in so-called active development, alongside 14 other movies that they've told us is in active development. That's right, 14 other movies. But don't worry, just because this guy says it's in active development, I'm sure it's happening. So it continues saying, Jenkins reportedly parted ways with the movie to focus on directing the now-defunct Wonder Woman 3 amid rumours creative differences with Kathleen Kennedy, and it was officially taken off Lucasfilm's release schedule back in 2022. And again, when it was taken off that schedule, they were still telling us it's in active development. And here is what Patty Jenkins told Collider back in March of this year, by the way, and she said, so when I left Star Wars to do Wonder Woman 3, I thought maybe I'll come back to Star Wars after Wonder Woman. So we did a deal for that to happen. Started a deal, but I thought I was doing Wonder Woman. When that went away, Lucasfilm and I were like, oh, we gotta finish this deal. We finished the deal right as the strike was happening. So I now owe a draft of Star Wars, and so we will see what happens there. You know, like, who knows? It's hard. They have a hard job in front of them of what's the first movie they're going to do. They have other directors who have been working, but I am now, you know, I'm back on doing Rogue Squadron, and we'll see what happens. We need to develop, you know, get it to where we're both super happy with it. And then it says, it's nice to hear that Jenkins will, and they put in quotes, hopefully, still get the opportunity to see this movie come to function, since she has had such a personal connection to the material. And that personal connection, of course, is her father. That this is where the idea for this story came from. It says, though the story might have undergone a few changes since a previously released logline read, Rogue Squadron will introduce a new generation of starfighter pilots as they earn their wings and risk their lives in a boundary-pushing, high-speed thrill ride and move the saga into the future era of the galaxy. And it's never going to do that because this movie is never going to happen. The same way Richmond also believes that the project of Taika Waititi has been shelved indefinitely. So Daniel Richmond's whole rumour this time round is to tell us things we've known for the past couple of years. That's a great lowdown there, Daniel. Telling us a movie that's actively in development, that has been actively in development for 2 years already, or I should say for 4 years, seeing it was announced back in 2020. You're telling us that it's still in active development, even though every time Disney gets asked about it, have always said it's in active development. Even when Patty Jenkins left the project, they were saying it's in development. And that Taika Waititi's movie that he himself said a year ago, oh yeah, that's probably never happening. He's now come out to tell us, oh, by the way, Taika Waititi's movie, yeah, that's not happening. This dude, he just solved all the biggest cases, people. It's time to move on to real crimes. See what he can solve. Because Sherlock Holmes here, holy shit, is he breaking news that we didn't know? Like, are you serious? To sit there and say, oh, Rogue Squadron's still happening. Yeah, no shit, Sherlock. Because they keep telling us all their movies are still happening. Even though none of them are happening. None of them have moved forward. The Rey movie, that was meant to be the first Star Wars movie back on the big screen since the last movie, which was The Rise of Skywalker. And yet, it's not even going to be the first movie, and the way things are being talked about, it's not even going to be the second or third movie that's going to be put out. Grogu and Mandalorian is now going to be the first new Star Wars movie out on the big screen. Not the Rey movie, even though the Rey movie was announced first. Then it looks like the James Mangold movie may be the second movie. Still no Rey movie. The Rey movie still doesn't even have a script. I don't even think they've had a writer replace Stephen Knight yet. But don't worry, folks, because Daniel Richmond has told us Rogue Squadron is still in development. 2 years after Disney told us it's still in development. Breaking news, huh? So, on that bombshell, I shall leave it there for this one. Like, share, subscribe, all that good stuff. Cheers, and I will catch you in the next one.